To give my husband a birthday surprise, I planned to hide the new car keys I'd bought inside his wallet. I never expected that when I opened his wallet, I would find a pregnancy ultrasound report tucked inside for 7 years of loving marriage with my husband. I gave up my booming career to become a stay-at-home spouse, but he had a baby with someone else behind my back. I put the report back where I found it, deciding to give up on this exhausting marriage. Honey, Jessica prepared a birthday surprise for me. A group of us are going to a karaoke bar party venue tonight. You don't need to wait up. Before I could even process the pregnancy report, a text message from my husband, David, arrived out of nowhere. I didn't rush to confront him, simply replying with an okay. Immediately after, I messaged a female subordinate at his company whom I had a good relationship with. She quickly replied with the information. Private room number 666. Today was actually David's 30th birthday. I had gotten up early just to prepare his surprise. First, I went to the supermarket to buy his favorite expensive seafood lobster. Then I ordered a luxury cake we usually wouldn't splurge on. And finally, I took out several years' worth of savings to buy a car outright as his gift. Just as I was about to slip the new car keys into his wallet, a wrinkled paper caught my eye. At first, I thought it was some work document. But when I opened it, the contents were truly unspeakable. A pregnancy ultrasound report. 1 month along, explained this absurd marriage. It turns out that when a person is at their emotional breaking point, they can't even cry. David and I met on a startup project. We were both young back then. As the project initiator, I interacted most closely with him as a major shareholder. Plus, David was friendly and kind, always smiling, which made it hard not to develop feelings for him. Little by little, our relationship grew closer through work. Later, with encouragement from colleagues, David publicly confessed his feelings to me with flowers. I was swept away at the time and was eager to get married after only dating him for a few days. After we got married, my project made significant progress. But just as we were about to go public, David and I had a conflict. He believed the company hadn't established a firm footing yet, and going public would easily affect the project's progress. In my opinion, now was the best time to go public. And if we missed it, the opportunity would be hard to come by again. We argued endlessly over this. But in the end, for the sake of the relationship, I chose to back down, giving up my position as company owner and choosing to become a stay-at-home spouse. David took over my former position. Becoming the decisive David, our relationship became increasingly unequal. He sat in his office every day, high and mighty, while I was busy with chores at home, scolded even for minor things like cold food. In the 3rd year of our marriage, I said I wanted a baby, but he pushed me away. Despite my desire, honey, the company is busy right now. If we have a baby, I'm afraid I won't have the energy to take care of it. You understand, right? Let's wait. And so, I waited for years. Every time I prepared seductive lingerie and wanted to connect with him intimately as husband and wife, he would refuse, citing exhaustion. Because he was happy outside the home, he had no energy left for home. I clutched the pregnancy report tightly in my hand. The words "pregnant woman," Jessica pierced my heart deeply. Heavy-hearted, I put the document back exactly as it was, then opened Jessica's social media feed. The latest post was about the birthday surprise she prepared for David, celebrating the big boy's 30th birthday. "I'll be with you every day from now on." Everyone in the accompanying photos was beaming, which only highlighted me, smelling of cooking oil, like a nanny housekeeper. The once sharp and independent career woman was now just a bitter woman, betrayed by her husband and powerless. I composed myself, preparing to see this birthday surprise for myself, the one I wasn't part of. Before leaving, I threw all the prepared food and the luxury cake into the trash. Then I drove my newly bought car to the karaoke bar party venue. For years, David had been stingy with me. Apart from money for daily necessities, whatever else I had was from occasional odd jobs I saved up for. We originally had a small car, but David often drove it to work, leaving me, the stay-at-home wife, to take the bus for a long time to get anywhere. Now that was over. I wouldn't have to take the bus anymore. I had just reached the door of the private room, and before I even pushed it open, I heard the sound of men and women laughing inside. "David lost? Your penalty is to feed Jessica fruit mouth to mouth." If I hadn't seen it with my own eyes, I never would have imagined that David, who was so rigid and harsh at home, would play such childish games with a woman. Looking down at the cooking apron I was still wearing, I really didn't have the courage to open that door. Just as I was about to head home, one of the colleagues spotted me hovering at the door first. "Sarah, Why don't you come in?" Instantly, the lively private room fell silent. Everyone's eyes were fixed on me. Jessica and David awkwardly stopped their action. They exchanged a glance, then reluctantly put the fruit down. "Why are you here?" David seemed surprised, as he hadn't told me the location of his party. I nervously fiddled with the corner of my clothes. "It's your birthday party. Can't I be here?" David quickly shook his head and pulled me to his side. "Everyone, this is..." Halfway through his sentence, he glanced at Jessica. Jessica's expression towards me was very subtle, but she remained silent. "This is Sarah. You're Sarah. My wife. Hurry up, say hello to Sarah." The colleague who had been cheering them on immediately caught on, then awkwardly raised his glass and smiled apologetically at me. "I'm sorry, Sarah. I didn't expect you to come. That was just a joke earlier. I'll drink this as a penalty. Please don't take it to heart." With that, he downed a glass of beer. I didn't take it to heart because my purpose for coming was very clear. Since David didn't care about our relationship, I didn't need to spare his feelings. It's okay. After all, I won't be your Sarah anymore. After saying that, I didn't look at anyone else, turned around, and prepared to go home. David, who always cared about saving face, couldn't sit still and rushed after me. "Honey, don't be angry. They were just kidding. Before you leave, come back inside and explain to them that what you just said was just a joke, okay?" "David." I stopped walking and called him by his full name for the first time. "Are you willing to have a baby with me?" This question represented the last chance I was giving him, and also the final answer for myself. As soon as David heard that, his face immediately fell. "Sarah, if you came here to disrupt my birthday party because of this, I think you're being unreasonable making a scene. I told you a long time ago, my work is very busy right now. Having a child will be troublesome. Does hiring a nanny for postpartum care cost money? Did you earn that money? Can't you think about me for once?" "I'm exhausted, honey. We finally got to gather tonight. I don't want to make a scene. I just asked him one question, and he had countless excuses. Okay, I'm going home. You have fun." My heart turned completely cold. I swallowed all the words I had wanted to argue with him, just as David reached out to stop me. The woman behind him linked her arm through his. "David, what are you two talking about?" Hearing Jessica's voice, I froze in place, unsure whether to go or stay. "Nothing, just a little misunderstanding with Sarah." David let her hold onto him like that, without the slightest attempt to avoid me, who was still right there. "Is Sarah upset?" "Don't worry about it too much. It was just an accident earlier. It's David's birthday today. We were just having a bit too much fun. Next time I'll treat Sarah to a meal separately as an apology." "Jessica is so understanding. I was just worried about upsetting you." Jessica sweetly leaned against David, as if afraid I wouldn't know about their relationship. "Oh, David, you haven't told Sarah yet, have you? We're going on a business trip soon, and probably won't be back for a while." Her words completely shattered the defense I had painstakingly built up. I glared fiercely at David, wanting to confirm the truth of this matter from his eyes. When his gaze darted away, wanting to avoid the question, I knew he really planned to leave me alone and go on a business trip with Jessica. We had a simple wedding ceremony. After getting married, I repeatedly suggested a honeymoon trip, but David vetoed it every time. "We're old married couple. Why go on a honeymoon? I'm exhausted every day, and you want me to travel around?" Yes, he wasn't willing to travel with his wife, but he was going on a business trip with a female colleague he had only known for a few months. But it didn't matter anymore. After all, David and I would be separating soon. "Have a good business trip." I coldly dropped that sentence, then turned and left without looking back. The first thing I did when I got home was contact a lawyer to draft the divorce agreement. After divorcing him, the only thing I cared about was the company I had poured all my youth and effort into. David hadn't listened to me back then, which resulted in the company still being very small, with only a handful of employees. The agreement I had signed with him at the time stated that I only gave him management rights, but the actual ownership of the company was still mine. But it was still unlikely for him to completely let go of the company. Finally, after discussing with my lawyer, I decided to sell the company. David and Jessica's business trip went very smoothly, especially David, who seemed to completely forget the conflict we had in the private room earlier, and would even occasionally update me on his itinerary. And Jessica was in a very good mood, often sending me intimate photos of the two of them outside, intentionally or unintentionally. One moment they were camping on a grassland, the next they were riding camels in the desert. This didn't seem like a business trip at all. but rather their honeymoon. I never replied after seeing them, because the more important matter at hand was finding a suitable large corporation to acquire the company. Finally, through my persistent efforts, I met a large foreign enterprise. Their group had always been very interested in the project I developed earlier and was just waiting for our company to go public to discuss collaboration. If it weren't for David's wrong decision, the company would definitely be a prominent leading enterprise by now. I quickly signed the contract with them and decided to move abroad and start a new career with the group at their headquarters after the divorce. Just when I was at a loss, David returned, seeing me sitting calmly and composed on the sofa. He looked somewhat uncomfortable. Normally, when he left home for something, I would cling to him and ask endless questions upon his return, but now I was completely unresponsive, which made him feel uneasy. Honey, it must have been tough on you being home alone during this time. I saw many tourist spots on this business trip. It'll definitely take you to see the world next time. I didn't react and took out the divorce agreement. Let's get divorced, David. David stared at me in disbelief. He couldn't understand how I, who loved him so much, had suddenly made this decision. What's wrong, honey? Are you still angry about the birthday party that day? I already explained. That was just us, I scoffed, then took out Jessica's pregnancy ultrasound report and slapped it onto the table. You already have a baby with the person you love most. Why should I interfere with your beautiful relationship? When David saw this, his face instantly turned pale. He tremblingly walked over and quickly snatched the report from the table. Where did you find this? Does it matter where I found it? David, I begged you for so many years to have a child with me, and now you're having one with someone else. I was furious. Things had reached this point, and he still didn't plan to be honest with me. Did you go through my wallet? Sarah, haven't I been good enough to you? You stay at home all day without having to worry about anything, and now you encounter a small matter and immediately start questioning me like a shrew. On this business trip, I was just talking with Jessica. She said she felt you had changed. I told her it was because you're always working hard for this family, and now you're here questioning us. Perhaps realizing his reaction was too intense, David quickly calmed down and said earnestly, Honey, Jessica is indeed pregnant, but there's nothing going on between us. Her husband died of cancer a long time ago. Her only wish is to have a baby. But don't worry, honey, she did IVF. Nothing happened between us. I haven't even touched her. This explanation seemed perfect to David, but I didn't believe it at all. If they were truly innocent, David and I would have had a baby long ago. Stop talking, David. Who you want to have a child with is your own business. Do you know how long I spent preparing your birthday surprise? You say there's nothing between you. So why did your colleagues cheer and tell a random man and woman to feed each other fruit mouth to mouth? After all these years, we don't even have our own child, and now you say her wish is to have a baby. To have the baby of a married man? Should I thank her for making me a mother without the pain of childbirth? As soon as I said these words, David actually pulled me into his arms. He thought I was still jealous of him and other women, just like before. Okay, honey, I understand. If you mind that baby, I'll talk to Jessica about getting an abortion. Anything is fine as long as you don't throw a tantrum with me. David had truly lowered himself this time. He did this because he was confident I was soft-hearted and wouldn't actually make Jessica get an abortion. I struggled to push David away. A phone call interrupted our entanglement. David, my stomach hurts. Hurry and come. Jessica's voice was weak and feeble. David immediately let go of me, grabbed his keys without a word, and hurried out. David, if you walk out that door today, I'll consider you've agreed to the divorce. He still didn't look back. The sight of David frantically abandoning everything for Jessica was just like how I had abandoned so many things for him in the past. As much as we loved each other back then, we would be just as heartless now. I solemnly placed the divorce agreement back on the table. The terms were clearly written. Apart from the car I had just bought and the company, I didn't want anything else. Knowing David, he would definitely sign it without even reading it carefully, because in his heart, I no longer existed. Wasting this extra time with me was probably just because he felt guilty. On the path of pursuing love, he was more decisive than I was. I could even imagine Jessica's mocking laugh. Like a victor, she could act recklessly based on David's favoritism, but I couldn't. I calmed myself down and packed all my belongings in this house. Sadly, apart from some daily necessities and a few commonly worn clothes, I couldn't find anything else that belonged to me. In this house, David had his own walk-in closet, his private shower room, and his private study office. All that was left for me was a small bedroom and the kitchen where the cooking was never ending. Dragging my suitcase, I checked into a hotel outside. The group would soon relocate the company back to the headquarters in France, and I would be leaving with them, leaving this heartbreaking and despairing place. During the divorce cooling off period with David, we both tacitly didn't contact each other. My former colleague told me that David had resigned and was fully dedicated to taking care of Jessica's daily life. How ironic. In the past, I took care of David day and night, often suffering from insomnia and headaches as a result. But this didn't earn me a bit of sympathy from him. Instead, he shamelessly mocked me for pretending to be pitiful to gain sympathy. Sometimes I really envied Jessica. She didn't have to do anything to earn David's effort and concern. This time, going abroad, I only contacted another female colleague from my former project team. That was the girl who told me David's birthday private room number. My colleague expressed deep sympathy for my experience. She also told me, from beginning to end, all the big and small anecdotes about David and Jessica. Jessica joined the company 6 months ago through David's friend. Because she was hired through connections, she naturally got the position of the boss's assistant. This position was interesting. The work wasn't particularly difficult, but it allowed her to get close to the boss. Initially, David wasn't interested in this woman and could even be said to have completely failed to notice her existence. But somehow, it seemed destined. One day after a company team building event, David got drunk and was accidentally taken to a hotel by Jessica. What happened between them afterward was unspoken. David later realized that the assistant next to him was young and beautiful, and most importantly, unlike me, who only did chores at home. The two of them started a rapidly developing relationship, just like when we were first dating. During work hours, Jessica would quietly close the office door and sit on David's lap, flirting, getting intimate. After work, David would find various excuses not to come home, often leaving me to spend nights alone. Most importantly, Jessica often worked overtime alone with David. Late at night, a man and a woman alone, their desire could not be extinguished. Later, Jessica accidentally got pregnant, but David had no intention of divorcing me, so she kept looking for opportunities to undermine our relationship. If I hadn't accidentally discovered her pregnancy, I would still be blindly devoted to David being his doormat. After hearing these things, I was silent for a long time. Why are you telling me this? Is it because you see how pathetic I am right now? Sarah, you misunderstand. Everyone in the company knew about these things. You were the only one who didn't. The female colleague lowered her head and continued, when I first joined the company, it was because you took care of me. I really couldn't stand seeing David and Jessica flirting in the office every day, but now it's okay. You finally divorced him. My feelings were very complicated, so everyone knew about their relationship, and I was the only one who didn't. Everything happens for a reason. I had always thought Jessica had unilaterally seduced David, but their story was truly unexpected. After saying goodbye to my colleague, I successfully received David's divorce agreement. Just as I had imagined, he didn't read the property division carefully and signed it. I breathed a sigh of relief. At least from now on, I wouldn't have to worry about this family anymore. The day before I left here with the group, I found out I was pregnant. If I had stayed with David, this baby would undoubtedly have been the best way to win back his heart. But I didn't love him anymore. However, this baby was hard-won. The doctor had told me I had a condition that made it difficult to conceive, so after much deliberation, I decided to be selfish for once. I was going to have this baby. Life in the foreign land wasn't easy. Besides being busy with the group during the week, I also attended various single mothers support groups in my spare time. By joining the support groups, I learned a lot about raising a baby and made friends. Abroad, single mothers are not viewed harshly. On the contrary, they receive more care, and monthly government benefits for single mothers. Childcare support are provided. Beyond my own life, my former colleague would often share things about David and Jessica with me. They got married not long after I left the country. However, David was very angry because I had sold the company behind his back, leaving him with no extra income now. It was said that to support Jessica and the baby in her belly, he mortgaged the house we used to live in. And now they had moved into a small 2-bedroom apartment, cramped to bedroom place. But I still often saw Jessica's social media updates. She was pleasure-seeking and inherently a vain woman. Now that David's life was difficult, working during the day and doing part-time food delivery at night, he didn't have much time to spend with her. So every time David managed to save some money, Jessica would spend it on her various luxury items. He was used to being David, having everything handed to him. So how could he endure this hardship? The two of them argued frequently, or David would give her the silent treatment. In short, seeing their lives not going well made me feel more at peace. After a year of hardship and challenges, my baby was finally born. She was a lovely girl, born on a summer night, so I named her Summer. Jessica's baby was also born successfully, but it was a boy. I didn't care if it was a boy or a girl. I loved my child no matter what. But David was different. He grew up in a family with traditional beliefs. In fact, he had an older sister. Because of David's mother's preference for male children, patriarchal mindset, his sister was given away to relatives to raise when she was very young. I remember lying together just after we got married, and I asked him if he wanted a boy or a girl. Whether it's a boy or a girl, as long as it's born to you, you'll love it. I could see that whenever he looked at other people's baby boys, his eyes were filled with unconcealed fondness. If someone else had a baby girl, he would show impatience and constantly complain to me that raising a girl was just raising her for someone else. Sure enough, David posted a family photo of the three of them on the day the child was born. Although we were divorced, I still had his parents' contact information. David's mother soon posted photos of her grandson and thoughtfully sent a generous check for several $1,000s. Thinking back to when we got married, she was the first one to stand up against it. She said I was an orphan with no parents, and if something ever happened, I would be a burden on David for the rest of my life. Because I hadn't eaten properly since I was young, I was relatively thin. She said I couldn't have children and would have to rely on her precious son for my whole life, but she was wrong. Not only have I given birth to a healthy and strong baby, but I have also settled down and made a home abroad, living the happiest life. After the baby was born, I told my colleague not to tell me anything more about David. I closed my old social media accounts, canceled my phone number, and even changed my phone. My boss was understanding of me being a single mother and took extra care of my private life. So for this work assignment, he specifically arranged for a local person. This person, I never would have guessed, was my college classmate, Robert. Robert was surprised to see me. He had moved to France for work after graduation, following his family's arrangements. We hadn't seen him again, not even on the day we took our graduation photos. Who would have thought that we would meet again 10 years later? Sarah, I can't believe it's really you. Robert, you're still alive. Everyone said you were tricked into becoming a laborer in France. It looks like you're doing pretty well now. Robert and I exchanged smiles, putting work aside for a moment, and started talking about our lives. I heard everyone saying you started a new energy project after graduation. Are you still working on it? I smiled bitterly. Don't even mention it. That project ran into some problems later and was put on hold. Robert looked regretful, but then he continued to ask, "Hey, did your husband come to France with you for work?" "We got divorced." He seemed incredulous. In our college circle, I was one of the first people to get married and start a family. I heard your husband was pretty good to you. Why did you get divorced just like that? He cheated on me and got the other woman pregnant. Seeing my downcast eyes, Robert also looked troubled. During our college days, the couple everyone favored the most was actually us two, a campus beauty and a top student. No matter how you looked at it, we were the most suitable match. Robert wasn't without subtly expressing his feelings for me during college. However, at that time, I was focused only on my studies, so for 4 whole years, I paid no attention to Robert's feelings. Perhaps it was fate's intention that we met again. That damn, if I ever see him, I'll make sure he pays. Robert's indignant tone made me laugh. I teased him, smiling. Okay. Our upright Robert is the leader of the pack, taking down us. Oh, right. How come I don't see your wife this time? Don't tease me, Sarah. I'm still single. Where would I get a wife? No way. Our charming Robert is still not married. You know, there's only one person I'll ever commit to in this life. If I missed her, I would spend my life waiting. As Robert said this, his eyes were full of probing and expectation towards me. I fell silent again, just as silent as I was 10 years ago, not knowing how to answer him. Haha, I was just kidding with you. Don't take it seriously. He patted me on the hand, signaling me not to take what he just said too much to heart. Robert, I have a baby. I'm not young anymore, so for you, I know I'm not worthy. I lowered my head, not daring to look at his expression. Robert must be looking disgusted and resentful now, being rejected by the same woman for different reasons at different times. But I was wrong. Robert stood up, quickly walked to my side. then leaned down and stared at me with his handsome eyes. Sarah, I won't allow you to belittle yourself. You're the best girl I've ever met. Do you know why I didn't come to your wedding? It was because I was a coward then. I couldn't face you and your husband. I was afraid I would cry in front of everyone. Being a grown man, although I've been working in France all these years, I've been following your updates constantly. I heard from classmates that you weren't happy after you got married, so I put everything aside and wanted to come back for you. But when I found your house and secretly saw you and your husband kissing in the car, I could only flee in embarrassment. I don't want to run away anymore, Sarah. I love you. What if you have a baby? If you're with me, your baby will naturally be my baby too. After hearing these words, my eyes were already moist. Seeing that I was about to cry, Robert quickly pulled me into a hug. Don't cry, Sarah. I'm sorry. I was too abrupt. I shouldn't have said those things. Someone who loves you is always afraid that what they give you isn't good enough. This was the first time in my life I felt genuine love. I couldn't hold back and shed tears of emotion. Robert, I promise you, let's be together. Robert kept his word, being equally good to me and the baby. On holidays, he would push the stroller and take me for walks in the park. Worried that I couldn't rest while taking care of the baby alone, he hired a professional nanny to help me with the child so I could focus on work. He knew I was someone who wouldn't give up on my career, so he specifically took me along to secure many collaborations. Whether it was work or life, Robert's actions undoubtedly made me feel his sincerity. When the baby was 2 years old, carrying a cake, I ran into someone unexpected downstairs in the neighborhood. David was here. His face was full of weariness and the marks of hardship. The once decisive David was now unshaven, looking like a homeless person. Honey, I finally found you. I didn't want to talk to him and turned to go upstairs, but he grabbed me. Honey, where are you going? Honey, did you forget? I'm David, your husband. I shook him off, feeling disgusted. Get away. We're divorced. Please watch what you say. Don't. Sarah, honey, I know I was wrong, so I came back to reconcile. I was fooled by that bitch, Jessica. The child in her belly isn't mine at all. Hearing this, I was a little surprised. According to the story my colleague told, they were often intimate. How could Jessica possibly be pregnant with someone else's child? Jessica is a gold digger who targets rich men and uses pregnancy for leverage. Every time she gets pregnant, she demands money for an abortion. At the time, I was really deceived by her innocent appearance. I thought she truly had feelings for me. And then there was the baby. Enough, stop talking. I don't have time to listen to your affairs with other women. I was indifferent. I had no interest in his affairs with other women anymore. I know you're still angry with me. So I came to find you myself to apologize. Come back, Sarah. You're the only one I've ever loved. Seeing that I wasn't paying attention to him, David suddenly knelt on the ground, grabbing my pants leg, refusing to let me leave. People only learn to cherish what they have lost. Before, when David and I argued, in the bitter cold of winter, on a snowy night, he locked me, a young woman, out of the house. I knelt there for a whole night. If a kind passerby hadn't seen me frozen and passed out, I would have died. You don't love me, David. All you love is your pathetic pride. I have my own life now. Please don't disturb me anymore, or I'll call the police. David remained stubbornly kneeling on the ground, as if he would stay there until I forgave him. Sarah, hurry inside. The baby said daddy today. Robert came down from upstairs, holding the baby. Baby? What baby? Sarah, did you have a bastard child with this wild man behind my back? David stumbled to his feet, trying frantically to snatch the baby from Robert's arms. Robert stepped aside, and David fell to the ground. Who is this, Sarah? The beggars in the neighborhood have been cleared out. Where did he come from? Robert stood protectively in front of me, his eyes warning David. The baby in my arms seemed to sense something and suddenly burst into tears. I quickly took the baby and held her, comforting her. There, don't cry, mommy's here. Seeing this scene, David was furious. In his eyes, I was a woman who had cheated on her husband and had another man's baby. Sarah, you're shameless. I thought you were sincere with me, but who knew you were just like Jessica? Both of you are lying awful women. Robert was angry. He couldn't stand hearing someone talk to me like that. So he rushed forward and punched David repeatedly. You scum. The child in Sarah's arms is your own flesh and blood. How can you talk about your child's mother like that? David was stunned by the beating, looking at me and the baby in disbelief. He suddenly seemed to understand something, pushed Robert aside and rushed towards me, trying to snatch the baby. Sarah, "This is great. I just found out you had the baby. Look at our baby, her eyes are so much like yours. She'll definitely be a fortunate child in the future. Get out. You have no right to touch her. From the moment you gave up our marriage for Jessica, my baby would never recognize you as her father." I held the baby tightly and gave David the hardest slap of his life. David was left speechless by the slap. At that moment, Robert quickly shielded me and the baby and went upstairs. For the next few days, I stayed home unless it was absolutely necessary, because David was always watching the windows of the house with a sinister look, like a wolf ready to erupt at any moment. I knew he wanted to take the baby away now. I was no longer just a useless stay-at-home wife. I was a mother. My duty is to protect my baby until the day I die. Later, with Robert's help, we successfully called the police. The police permanently deported David, barred him from the country for harassment, and the person the baby calls dad has always been Robert. The day Summer started kindergarten was just a week before Christmas. The festive scene on the streets made me sigh at how quickly time had flown. Robert walked Summer into the school, then drove me to a church. The church was decorated with solemn white roses. At that moment, Robert knelt down. "Sarah, will you marry me?" I was so moved I was close to tears in my eyes. Even if we didn't get married, we could still be together forever. But Robert clearly wanted me to be his wife. Standing proudly by his side, "I will." People who were reciting romantic poems nearby stopped and applauded for our love. Life is short. I hope we can all find our own happiness.